Hey, this is a great moment because in this moment, I'm here to talk to you about giving you what you want. How do I know what you want? Well, number one, you wouldn't have landed here if you didn't have some interest in being younger and better and stronger. But number two, for the last 30, 40 years, I've traveled the world meeting people. And what I've learned is everybody wants that fountain of youth. Everybody wants to be younger, better, and stronger. My name is Phil Kaplan. And I have devoted my life to bettering the lives of others. And I've been at this, as I mentioned, for a long time. Over the past 3 or 4 decades, I've sold hundreds of thousands of books, conducted programs and seminars. But if you look at your screen at the bottom left, that's me with a hyperbaric chamber in my facility, where I and my team of doctors and scientists and professionals and health coaches focus on doing 2 things: reversing disease in humans and making them younger. And I know that sounds sort of crazy, so I want to spend a little time explaining what we do to make people younger and how this is even possible. So before we understand the idea of getting younger, we really have to understand what aging is. So I pulled this from the journal Biogerontology. Cellular aging, I'm going to come back and talk about the word in parentheses, cellular aging can best be defined as the progressive failing ability of the body's own intrinsic and genetic powers to defend, maintain, and repair itself. It really means the breakdown of metabolism. It is entropy. It is the dissolving, ultimately, of these cells and the functions of the body. So when we look at that word in parentheses, biological aging, this is different than chronological aging. In other words, if you are 50 years old, I can't make you 49 or 48 or 47 chronologically. Your next birthday, you'll be 51. However, I can get you into a state where you create new cells, where you generate new cells, new tissue, new systems. And those cells are younger biologically than the ones you have right now. So years ago, there was a big question mark as to whether it is possible to reverse age, to create a biological rejuvenation. But now the science supports it. There's been a complete paradigm shift. As we come to understand aging, we understand how we can use, I'll say, hacks, tricks in a sense, or methodologies or strategies to change our biology and literally regain that which we lost. And when we talk about the things that people have lost as a result of aging, good health. 65% of American adults have been diagnosed with at least one chronic disease. Many have been diagnosed with more than one. And when I say 65% have been diagnosed, there's another huge percentage that hasn't even been diagnosed yet. When we think of youth, we think about greater strength, stronger muscles, an immune system that works on our behalf. We think back and we go, I remember when I used to have a good memory, but today I can't remember where I put my keys. And when we were younger, we didn't worry about digestive issues and inflammatory issues. So we want to get all that back if we've moved away from it. And the really good news is we can, and the Younger, Better, Stronger program is designed to do exactly that. Now, I showed you a picture of me in my facility with a hyperbaric chamber. That's in Boca Raton, Florida. And if you're thinking, well, I don't live in Boca Raton, I don't even live in Florida. Here's the great news. The Younger, Better, Stronger program can come to you wherever you are. Anybody now can take advantage of this course, this program, this system that literally makes you younger. Now, let me give you a little bit of background. If you're looking at your screen now, you see an image. I'm going to ask you what that image is. Right. I'm sure you said something to do with medicine, right? You've seen it as it relates to doctors, maybe on a doctor's license plate, on the door of the emergency room, on a medical business card. And it is called the caduceus. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. I speak around the world at medical conferences, and I would often show this on a big screen, and I'd say, what is this? And they go, the medical logo. And I say, why snakes? And nobody seems to know. So I'm going to give you some really quick background. The caduceus is the staff or the rod of Hermes. And Hermes, from ancient Greek culture, mythology, was thought of as the greatest teacher, the greatest healer of all time. And when we look at this image, The intention of it is this: the snake with its head on the right represents the divine potential of man or woman. This is not sexist. The divine potential of human. So when we come into this world, assuming we're born in a state of health, our body knows what to do. Our heart knows how often to beat. We are hungry, we cry, we get fed, we are nourished. And somewhere along the way, we just kind of screw it up. So the snake with its head on the left represents the physicality of man in the moment. So the healer is supposed to look at two things: the divine potential of man and the present state of the man or woman in front of the healer. And the idea is, let's restore that person to their divine potential. That's not the way conventional medicine looks at people, but that's the way I do. And that's the way the program does. We're going to give you back what you moved away from. And in order to further understand aging, breakdown, there are three primary culprits for what we now refer to as aging, or really what we mean is the degeneration that we've come to associate with aging. Oxidation, which in a sense is the rusting of cells. Chronic inflammation, which is the root cause of literally all disease. And hormonal deregulation, imbalances, a thyroid imbalance, an adrenal imbalance. So if we can correct, well, we can bring about miracles. And we now have the tools. Telomeres are the extensions on the ends of chromosomes. And science has revealed that as we age, those telomeres shorten. So there's a correlation between telomere length and how many years we have left in this place on this earth. What science has now revealed is not only can we slow the shortening of telomeres, we can literally lengthen them, which really means greater longevity. We've come to understand biogenesis, the creation of new life. We can literally create younger cells. You can within your own body. The power center of the cell, where energy is produced, it's called the mitochondria. And as the mitochondria break down and as they degenerate and as they become permeable and weaker, we not only lose a step, we lose a lot of steps. And this is a part of the entropy, the breakdown. But we now know we can recreate mitochondria. And we can dramatically reduce oxidation at a cellular level, which really means we can restore youth. And I'm proving this every single day. So what are the tools we use? Well, we use exercise, but it's not what you think. It's not excessive exercise. It's not grueling exercise. It's a different kind of exercise. It's a model where we bring together some ancient practices, some ancient Eastern practices, and the latest strategies that science has revealed. So do you exercise? Yes, but it's enjoyable. And it's amazing. And some of the things you do instantly make you feel better. You learn about diaphragmatic breath, about moving lymph through the lymphatic system, and about moving energy through the meridians of your body. We can also use anti-inflammatory, antioxidant foods to help you restore those things that you feel you've moved away from. You've heard food is medicine. Well, in this case, it's absolutely true. You've just got to learn where those nutrients are. You'll also learn to reduce stress, to mitigate stress. And I'll give you mindset tools that literally change your beliefs. If right now you're going, it's not possible, we've got to change that belief first. Because when you change your belief, you change your behaviors, you change your outcomes. There are some supplements, you don't need a whole lot, but there are some supplements that absolutely play a role in extending life and reversing the degeneration that we associate with aging. We do rely on nature a bit if you can get out in the sun, and I don't mean lay out on the beach, but I mean get 15 minutes of sunshine every single day. I can talk about how the red light and the infrared light brings about a dramatic power, both at the skin level and at the cellular level. And if you can't, we can use things that we call biohacks, different ways of getting the benefits of nature. And I do in the program encourage people to meditate, but I want you to understand this. I'm not a meditator. I tried. I understand the benefits of it, and I've taken entire workshops, and I've hated every single one of them because my brain likes to chatter. And it doesn't like to be quiet. And at first I thought that's the idea here, is we have to quiet our brain for hours at a time. But I've learned when we understand the scientific benefits of meditation, we can bring that about in 90 seconds. Now, this is just right now the ramblings of this guy named Phil in Florida. Where's the science? Well, throughout the program, the way it's delivered, every week you get a webinar. It's recorded, and I'm going to share the science. I want you to come in skeptical. I want you to be apprehensive. I'm going to talk about things you've never heard before, but in a way that you're going to go, I get it now. And the program is built upon 42 immutable principles that absolutely will stand. So if you've ever questioned anything and somebody tells you something about exercise or eating, it's in here. The science is real. The science is legit. The program is 100% proven again and again and again. So where's the science? It's everywhere. And I could do a very, very long seminar, webinar about science, but I don't think you'd have interest. The bottom line is you want to know that you can become younger and better and stronger. I will tell you that the Human Genome Project was an amazing conglomeration of the top scientists in the world from countries all over the planet, and they looked at genetics. And they asked the question, what are our limitations or what are our untapped abilities? And what they discovered was that epigenetic changes can change the physical structure of your DNA. What does that mean in plain English? Well, it means that the environment will determine whether you switch genes on or whether you switch genes off. In other words, you don't change your DNA. You just, in a sense, get your body to decide whether it flips the gene on for type 2 diabetes or flips the switch off. And if that sounds overly simplistic, it's real. For so many years, I would sit with people who come in for an intake and they want to lose weight and they want to get fit and they want to get healthy. And they'll tell me, my mother had this condition and my grandmother had the condition, as if they're victims of their genetics. But we now know we are not locked into our genes. So by changing the internal environment, meaning your hormonal environment, your gut environment, and the external environment, which you expose yourself to, we can control genetic expression, including whether genes for disease get switched on or get switched off. Now, while I'm sharing just a little bit of science, I love this acronym because a very, very long scientific name, repressor element 1 silencing transcription factor, happens to be REST when we just look at the acronym, and it is so appropriate because this is a factor that protects brain cells. And when we age in the brain, well, we kind of age everywhere. And lots of people notice that they're just kind of slowing down a little bit at the age of even 40 or 50. And it's nice to know that we can slow that process, perhaps halt that process, or even reverse that process. So REST represses the genes that promote cell death in the brain, suppresses those genes, and protects the neurons, and mitigates the stress response, which I'm going to talk about. Remember I said one of the primary causes of aging is oxidation. REST protects neurons from oxidation. So this is sounding pretty important. So now the big question is, where do I get rest? Meditating. Seriously. Meditation and sleep and peace and relaxed downtime increase the production of this neuroprotecting agent. And if you want me to pull science, I could pull it from everywhere. And when you look at the outcomes, meditation preserves and increases circulation and activity of rest. In fact, there is nothing unnatural about the program. We're learning to use oxygen better. We are going to consume natural foods. We're going to learn to breathe from the diaphragm. We're going to move with a complete respect for the design, the architectural structure of the body. We're going to learn to move the way the body was designed to move and improve the muscular system, the skeletal system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system. We're going to learn to command energy and move energy through our body and bring life force to every cell in our body. We will come to master recovery and laugh. And laughter, when I talk about laughter as a sort of a therapy, when we laugh, I mean we really laugh, we increase oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine, and these neurotransmitters in the brain literally bring about healing. And I'll even discuss how you get into a state of gratitude on a daily basis and how beneficial that is to everything that I just discussed. Now, when people ask, do I have to go on an extreme diet? Do I have to eat weird foods? Do I have to buy all that? No. In fact, one of the most challenging things at first for people who follow the program is I'm encouraging you to make the most natural food choices possible. Why don't I just say make natural food choices? Because there's a learning curve. Lots of people don't understand what the chemical companies and the food companies do to the foods that you find in the grocery store. So you become a smarter shopper, and you learn to make better choices. And if there is something that you're going to have to give up, it's bleached and processed and refined foods, because they will aid you. But there's no shortage of food. You're going to make very, very good choices that you find very, very enjoyable without deprivation at all. What really drives this aging process, and yes, oxidation, and yes, inflammation, yes, hormonal imbalance, but the greatest obstacle, the cause of all of that, is a stress load. When stress escalates, we move into a state of what we call adrenal overload or chronic adrenal stress. And our recovery systems, well, they just don't bring us back to that state of balance. So ultimately, the stress factor moves us away from optimal health and amplifies oxidation and inflammation and hormonal deregulation. And when we talk about stress, it's not just emotional stress. Stress load refers to the totality of all the stressors that you face. So emotional stress and mental stress and social stress, the toxins that you either take in or put on your skin or you inhale, environmental stress, and then lots of people with very high stress loads, now they try to work out, and now they're adding physical stress. So the trick here is to restore balance, to reduce the stress load, to bring people back to a state of recovery. Because the more we subject ourselves to chronic stress, the faster we move away from health. As a matter of fact, when I said inflammation is the root cause of all disease, I and the doctors I work with have identified a condition that underlies virtually every chronic disease. So if you've been told your A1C is high, or you have prediabetes, or you have hypothyroidism or metabolic syndrome, it all stems from a condition that I named REMAS, Restrictive Endocrine Maladaptive Adrenal Stress Syndrome. You don't ever have to remember that, but just know this. When you start to move away from health, you start to develop symptoms. And these are indicators that the body's beginning to break down. And the symptoms usually include brain fog. I said earlier, you forget where you put your keys, or you're talking to somebody on the phone and you go, wait, I can't find my phone. Then you realize it's in your hand. Fat accumulation, particularly in the abdominal region. Sugar cravings, erratic energy, fatigue, and an inability to sleep, and weight loss resistance are all symptoms that indicate that you're struggling with chronic adrenal stress. And the really good news is it's completely reversible. And because I've studied this, and because I understand what happens not only externally, but biochemically, I can identify the process that leads people to age prematurely or prevents them from staying young. So when you are feeling stress, the hypothalamus, the control center of the brain, produces more corticotropin-releasing hormone, which stimulates the pituitary to make more ACTH, which stimulates the adrenals to crank out cortisol, which is called the stress hormone. And again, you don't have to remember any of this, but this is how I've learned to understand aging and ultimately to reverse it. Because we go through a process where the body adapts, but it's not a positive adaptation. It is a negative adaptation, or what I call a maladaptation. And it starts with that stress load. ultimately affects blood sugar and insulin receptors. And as we look down this list, it brings us to a place where fat loss halts, fat storages increase, and the systems of the body begin to break down. And we can interrupt that on day one of the Younger, Better, Stronger program, which for you can be today. Because with this program, we will reverse REMAS. We will move you back not only toward health, but toward youth. We will restore your body's recovery system, reduce the breakdown of cells and tissue, restore hormonal balance, restore cellular energy, increase what I described to you just a few minutes ago, rest. We will increase chi, meaning energy flow. We'll increase the efficiency of the heart and lungs, the respiratory system, the circulatory system. This is a flawless program. You gain control over your body in a way that you were never taught to understand it before. And we approach it from 6 distinctive points. I call it the 6-point secret. The brain, the immune system, and the gut, mind, spirit, and cell. These are all factors. Brain is the control center. Gut is really where health is dictated. You've probably heard the term microbiome, but perhaps you never understood it. Most people, as they move away from health, suffer with a condition called dysbiosis, an imbalance where the bad bacteria exceed or overwhelm the good bacteria, and we can fix that. And as a result of the brain and the immune system, the brain and the gut sort of going rogue, the immune system tends to lose its innate intelligence, and we may develop an autoimmune condition. All of this is fixable. Mind and spirit, these seem far less tangible, but they're so vitally important. Plato knew it, Socrates knew it, conventional medicine just forgot these pieces. And the bottom, CI3, that stands for cell, the cell, cellular integrity, intelligence, and interactivity, because the condition of the mind and spirit will dictate the state of the cell. I know I've thrown a lot at you, but I want you to understand this program is legit, it is science-based, and I can show you so many examples of people who've gone through the program, but I thought it best to choose these two. John Bass, 75 years old. Years ago, he had type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. He was the farthest thing from health. Today, he acts like he's 35. He looks like he's 40. His body has changed. He loves life. And he's done this by following the programs that underlie the Younger, Better, Stronger program. And Carol is somebody who very recently went through the program, and she told me she'd been searching for this, literally for decades. And she was not the picture of health. She was on a lot of medications. And now she's off the medication. No matter what she did, she couldn't lose weight. She's now down 30 pounds. And as she says, she's seen dramatic positive changes in her bone structure and her posture. But what impresses her most is not that. It's the emotional. It's the shift to feeling great about herself. So she says the message I have for anyone considering Younger, Better, Stronger is simple. Do it. It's never too late. So if you're listening now and you are undecided, decide. Will you struggle with this program? No. You learn to mitigate stress. The routine begins with breath and subtle movement. It's not super challenging workouts. The workouts do get more intense as you go forward, but your body is prepared to handle it. The aerobic exercise begins with only 9 minutes a day. And there's a reason for it. As I told you, it is all science-based. There's never starvation. There's never deprivation. And within a matter of hours or days, you're going to notice positive shifts in energy and in mood and in brain power. So this will prove to be the most struggle-free human betterment program in existence. So that leaves us one question. When should you get started? When do you want to stop the breakdown? When do you want to stop the entropy? I think the best time to do it is right now. When do you want to start regaining health and strong muscles and efficient immune system and sharp memory, healthy gut, healthy brain, hormonal optimization, and reach your pinnacle? I think the time to do it is now. I look forward to taking you through the Younger, Better, Stronger program, and most of all, I look forward to hearing about your results. Let's get you started.